In order to build wealth, you need to buy assets, and assets cost money. So the question becomes, where do you get the money to purchase assets? Hello everyone, I am Colin and this is Harness Money, and go ahead and hit that like button. It helps me grow this channel and reach as many people as possible. And let's get into how I acquired my assets in the beginning. And that was through working for an employer, working at a fixed income, earning money for my time and my effort. That is how I began investing into the market, investing into real estate, investing into stocks. And that is how most Americans probably will spend their entire lives, is earning money for their time and then purchasing assets on the side. But I actually like to think of purchasing assets as your number one goal. I know you may be a doctor, you may be a lawyer, whatever it is that you do, that is your day-to-day job. But more important than that is becoming an investor, because that is what is going to allow you to eventually retire someday, eventually to buy your house, buy your car, buy food. It's becoming an investor that you really build wealth over the long term, and that is my mission, to help you build wealth. So I have identified 5 different items that I really cut back on in order to have enough money to invest in the market, because that's what you're going to have to do. You're going to have to increase your income and decrease your expenses. So people that make a lot of money have a lot of income, but they may also have a lot of debt. They may have a lot of expenses, and that is going to prevent them from ever being wealthy into the future. The more that you can reduce your expenses, the more you will have to invest in the market. So let's dig into the 5th thing that I reduced to have more income to invest in assets, and that is traveling. I love traveling. I love taking a break from work, taking a break from just my day-to-day life and going someplace new, going someplace different. It reminds me that there is a big world out there, that there's other people that live outside of my local community, and there are different ways to live, there's different cultures, there's different languages, and it's just such an honor and a treat to get to go out into the world and see those different people. But travel can definitely get expensive. So there are a lot of ways that I cut back on my travel expenses. Number 1, I use the credit card points, credit card hacks to reduce how much it costs to actually travel overseas. So right now, I'm actually building Marriott points with my credit card. It is a Chase credit card, and I am going to use those points to put towards hotel stay nights. So it won't cost as much to actually pay out of pocket for a hotel, because I will use a good amount of points in order to book that next vacation. The other one, of course, my favorite is airline points. I've built American Airlines, I've built United, Southwest, Delta, all of the big airlines. I have gone and gotten their credit cards and built up those points. Right now, I think I probably have about 400,000 airline points that I haven't even used, just because of 2020. I didn't go anywhere, but I just still kept collecting those points, putting everything on a credit card and building up that savings. Now, I really feel like the airline tickets are probably the most expensive part of my vacations. So getting a discount on those tickets can be huge, can be a real savings in the long run. And the other thing I like to do is GetYourGuide, which is just a website where you can book excursions. I'm not really someone that goes and sits on a beach or goes on a cruise and just hangs out wherever I am. I like to go on excursions. I like to go do things. I like to go see the place that I'm actually going to visit. So I love GetYourGuide because you can book different kinds of excursions to places outside of where you're going. Like if you're flying into Barcelona, you can go out and see the mountains. You can go to a monastery, or you can just book a local guide to show you around the local city, the local community that you're in, and it will cost a fraction of what it would cost if you booked from like Travelocity or Expedia, one of those sites there. So that has been a real game changer for me. So those are the biggest things that I cut back on, is the hotel, the flight, and just the excursions that I take there. Now, the 4th item that I like to cut back on in order to have more money in my pocket is clothing. Now, I have a closet full of clothes that I am not wearing as much because of 2020 and the illness that's going on. But I have developed an entire wardrobe of clothes, and it has been really cheap to do that because I have a certain method to my madness. I don't spend a lot of money on kind of like standard items like socks, underwear, undershirts, different things like that. I try not to spend a lot of money, so I'm totally fine with going to like a Walmart or Target or discount store to get those items. I still want them to be nice and like feel good, like cotton and everything, but I don't spend a lot of money on those items, and then I'll spend a little bit more money on the stuff that people actually see. So like a tie, a shirt, pants, shoes, stuff like that. But I love to go to discount department stores. I have local discount department stores in my community. So discount Macy's, discount Dillard's, and I think my favorite is Nordstrom Rack. I have a ton of Nordstrom Rack places around, so I love to go to those and find clothing that's already discounted. So right off the bat, it comes at a discount from the department store because it's in the lower end one. But then you can also go on certain days. Certain days there's even bigger discounts. So like Thanksgiving, Black Friday, during the spring they usually have a big sale where everything goes 50% off. Now you usually have to dig and kind of hunt for what you're looking for, but I mean, it's great. All the biggest brands are there. So you've got like Ralph Lauren, you've got Michael Kors, Perry Ellis. It saves me a ton of money. I've really cut back on my shopping expenditures, and I usually only go shopping like once or twice a year because I'll just stock up and then I'm really good. I don't have a need to go back out and continue shopping. So the third item that I cut back on is food. I have a whole strategy that I can go into about how I get my food budget down and keep it low. And the biggest thing that I've done is shopping at Costco. I used to shop at Sam's, but I think I like Costco better. And I buy so much stuff from Costco. It has saved me so much money. I don't buy everything at Costco. That's kind of the trick or the secret about Costco is not everything is discounted to a good price. So a lot of times I'll hold back from buying like fruit, like pineapples and things like that, just because those can be a little bit more expensive, maybe just based on the season, or like clothing items can be a little bit more expensive. But definitely probably my number one go-to is the coffee. The coffee is Kirkland's brand. It's actually Starbucks brand. It's just branded in Costco's label, so it's the same beans. It's just labeled differently, and it's cheaper. So it saves me so much money buying in bulk and looking at the price per unit. If you're buying in bulk, you need to know how much you're actually paying per item. So looking at that number is a great way to tell if you're getting a really good deal or not, or just an average or so. But then the other big thing is that I shop my weekly circulars for the grocery stores that I have around this area. So Kroger is really big here. Whole Foods is big. Walmart is big. So I will go and get the circular for all of the grocery stores in my area and look for it's the fruit and vegetable items that are on sale that week. I'll usually go stock up on whatever item they have on sale that week and just buy that item from that grocery store. So I do have to kind of run around. One of my favorite places is Aldi, because Aldi usually has a weekly deal on something. When you think ahead of time, then you save so much money. I still love going out to eat and going to restaurants with friends, but 2020 that hasn't really happened as much, so I've saved a lot of money there. But it's so much fun. If you cut back during the week on your grocery bill, I feel like you can spend a little bit more going out to restaurants and spending time with friends, and that has worked for me. And the other thing is meal prep. Planning a month. I actually plan a month ahead of time what I am going to eat for dinner for a month. So I don't want to think about, oh, what am I going to have? Or I don't want to think, oh, I just need to run to a fast food restaurant. I already have it planned out ahead of time. That way you can go shopping. You can get a somewhat base idea of what all of your food is going to cost, and just it makes life so much easier doing that. All right, the fourth item that I have cut from my budget or cut way down is transportation. I have right now I'm driving it's a Lexus SUV, and I paid for that in cash. I do see the benefit to having a new car. There is something to be said for having a car that has a warranty where you can just take it in to the dealership and have them fix whatever goes wrong with it. It could save so much time, headache, effort. But I just feel like when you buy a car, it's a depreciating asset. So when you buy a new car, it just depreciates so quickly. So if you buy an expensive luxury car, it's probably not worth the depreciation that it is actually going on behind the scenes to me. But I am not a Jerry Seinfeld or a Jay Leno where they love cars, it's their thing, it's their hobby. It is not a hobby for me. It is a vehicle to get me from point A to point B, and I don't want it to be shabby or ugly. I just want it to be functional for me. I have always paid for my cars in cash. When I was younger, I would get hand-me-down cars, and then I would sell those and try and take a little bit of profit from that and go get a different car, just a cheaper car that would get me from point A to point B. But there are so many different ways to buy cars now, from Carvana and Vroom and just all the different dealerships. I feel like it's never been a better time to go find a quality used car that's going to last you forever and not cost very much. And that can save you so much money in the long run. Not having a car note is huge. I don't care how small your interest rate is, you're still having to pay out maybe $300, $400 a month in a car payment, when you could be putting that money into purchasing stocks or ETFs, index funds, all those good things, and actually be making money rather than spending that money. So really try to cut down on your transportation costs, and you'll have so much more money. Now, the biggest thing that you can do to reduce your expenses is your living, is your housing. And there are many ways that you can cut down on your housing costs these days. I actually think it's probably better if you live in a city to rent versus buying, because the prices of real estate are just so high these days. If you live in a major city, I'm in the Dallas area, but if you're in New York, San Francisco, Miami, Atlanta, any major metropolitan area, I feel like the housing has just gotten so expensive. And there are so many hidden costs of owning a home. You have to pay taxes, you have to pay insurance. It just does not end the expenses that come with owning a home. In my opinion, it's better to rent if you don't want to maintain a home, or you don't have the extra capital to invest in keeping up the home or just paying down your debt a little bit faster. That's the other thing. I feel like only when you purchase a home, it puts a mental debt on you as well as a financial debt. You have a financial burden that you have to pay back to the bank, but you also have a mental burden. You're tied to that piece of property, so you can't pick up and leave and go to another job in another city if you're stuck with this home that you would have to offload on the market if you actually purchase. Now, I totally understand. You have to do what's right for you and your family. So if you do have a spouse or children, it's probably better to be in a home. If you are a single person or you're someone that's up and coming, trying to get your career going, it's probably better to rent. It just all depends on what phase of life you're at. But for me personally, I actually paid off my house early. I decided for me, when I bought it, that I was going to make extra payments on the mortgage as fast as humanly possible, pay down that mortgage, so then I could get rid of the mortgage that was on the house and actually put all that money into my investments. Now, there's another train of thought, whereas if you get a low interest rate, you just pay the minimum mortgage, 30-year mortgage with 2% interest, and then you put the rest of the money that you have left over into the market. For me, I just wanted to get rid of the mental block of owing all this money to the bank and being stuck with having this large payment that I have to make every single month. for me, it was about financial freedom, getting that burden off. But I mean, I have done it all with housing. When I was in college, I lived on campus. When I was not even finished with college, I moved into an apartment and I had 3 other guy roommates, and then I went to another apartment. I've moved to apartments so many times. I've done a rental home property. I now live in a house. One thing I did, which was when I started working for Apple, one of the Apple stores, that I drove around the area of where the work location was, and I just looked for people wanting a roommate, people for rent, people renting out just a room. And I actually found a condo, a 2-bedroom condo where the owner was a single guy and he just wanted to split the rent, and it turned out great. I rented that place for multiple years because it was in a great location, it was a nice place, and I was just paying for a quote-unquote room, but it was a whole apartment just for the 2 of us, and I feel like I saved so much money. So if you actually drive around or go walk around the area that you're wanting to rent and look for rent signs in the area and see what you can find, I bet you would be surprised about this. And you can go online. There's so many online tools now to find people that are looking for roommates, and also house hacking. If you do buy a house, so the reverse. I was the person looking to rent from an owner. You can also be an owner looking for people to rent to. So you can do both of those scenarios to cut down dramatically on your housing costs. But reducing your housing costs as much as possible will give you the most amount of money to invest in the market. Once you cut back on all 5 of these expenses, you'll realize that you don't need as much money to live on than the rest of society. You won't want to buy as much stuff once you make all these cutbacks, because you'll see how much money you're bringing in and how much money you're saving and investing, and that will be appealing. You'll want to hang on to that money more than going out and spending money on other things that you might not really need. Once you actually make those cuts, then you'll also have money to invest in all the different retirement accounts there. So I have all the different retirement accounts, the HSA, the Roth IRA, the 401k, all of these different vehicles you can put money into for tax advantage purposes, and it will build up over time. The 5 expenses that I cut or reduced from my budget are clothing, travel, food, transportation, and housing. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you found something interesting from it, and go ahead and hit that like button and that subscribe button, and don't forget to make good money choices. Till next time.